Hey, hey, ah. Ah. I got way too much time on my hands. Man, it's amazing the movies that turned 30 this year, man. Like, wow. Got another one. Bloodsport. Just turned 30, February 26, 1988. The world is introduced to Jean-Claude Van Damme, but not exactly. The world was introduced to Jean-Claude Van Damme in his first starring role. The first time the world seen Jean-Claude Van Damme was in this. Yeah, that's the first time we see Van Damme, but we first see him as a martial arts megastar in Bloodsport. Now, before Van Damme, we had Bruce Lee, we had Chuck Norris, and Jackie Chan. All very talented and all most likely can kick Jean-Claude's ass in a fight. But what made Jean-Claude stand out from those guys was his flashy kicks. Like Van Damme can do a spinning, flying kick like no other. Like Chuck Norris is known for his roundhouse kicks. Jackie Chan is known for his insane choreography and stunts. Bruce Lee was just an overall badass, but Jean-Claude had those flying kicks in slow motion that when you compare Jean-Claude's fights to like other martial arts fights or whatever, his fights are a little cheesy, they're a little dated, they're a little slow when you watch him now, but at the time it was cool to see somebody do those flying kicks like that in slow motion. Like, I thought that was ill. Bloodsport is a story of Frank Dux, or whatever his name is. Supposedly a true story of Frank Dux, who was a real-life underground fighter who fought in this Japanese or Chinese, an Asian tournament called the Kumite, which is a no-holds-barred, balls to the wall, anything goes fighting competition that welcomed all kind of martial arts. It was the UFC before the UFC. He's joined by his good buddy Donald Gibb, who was Ogre in Revenge of the Nerds, which is funny to see him in a martial arts film because he was the ogre and now he's like bashing people's faces in. The legendary Bolo Yeung plays Chung Lee, who is one of the most menacing villains of all time, okay, without saying much. Like, he only had a few lines in the movie, but man, was that a scary looking dude. Like, I didn't know Chinese people can get that big. I'm not being racist, but whenever you saw an Asian person on film, like, they were small in stature. Bolo Yeung is the first big buff like Chinaman that you've ever seen and could break you in half in real life. This movie had a lot of colorful characters, man. You had that sumo guy, you had the Muay Thai guy, the stereotypical racist monkey. Okay, they had to have the black dude as a monkey that hopped around and jumped around and shit. The fight scenes weren't all that. Probably the best fight scene in the movie was when Van Damme fought that sumo guy. You know, when the guy had him in a headlock, I mean, when he had him in the bear hug, and Van Damme hit him with those headbutts, and he caught him with the death touch, you know, and then when he did that famous Johnny Cage split and bust my man right in the nuts, that was a classic scene. The last fight with Bolo Yeung was, even though it was kind of mediocre, but because Van Damme is such a charismatic star, he made it dramatic. You know, he got blinded. He had to fight blind. I thought that was cool. So yeah, man, Bloodsport compared to his other movies really stands out. So Van Damme has a very impressive body of work, but in the mid-90s, he kind of disappeared a little bit. Like, he started doing these, after Time Cop, he started doing some really shitty movies. Like, I remember he did one with Dennis Rodman called Double Team, and I actually went to see that, and oh my God, was it terrible. Like, I was a Van Damme fan from Bloodsport to Time Cop, and at the Time Cop, I gave up because he just started doing some shitty films, and then I stopped fucking with Van Damme after that. I started watching Jackie Chan movies about mid-90s, so yeah, around the time I stopped fucking with Van Damme, I started watching Jackie Chan stuff, and Jackie Chan blew him away. Like, Jackie Chan, I saw him in Rumble in the Bronx, And man, like Rumble in the Bronx was like my shit. So I'm like, Van Damme, who? Tung Po is even in this movie too. Like, I don't know the actor's name, but him and Van Damme have done a lot of movies together. And matter of fact, I thought Tung Po was actually really from Thailand. I thought he was really an Asian guy, but come to find out, he's this guy. And they just put him in Asian makeup because they said they couldn't find an Asian guy big enough to play that role. Like I said, Bolo Young was an exception. That guy was just a monster, but it's hard to find like a really big Asian guy like that that's tall and is, you know, kind of solid or whatever. Tung Po actually gets fucked up by Bolo in this movie, by Chung Lee. There were times where you can see that Chung Lee was trying to channel Bruce Lee. I guess because he worked with Bruce on Into the Dragon and he was trying to have that Bruce Lee swag, which sometimes kind of worked, but then you can tell, yeah, he's acting like Bruce right there, but okay, you know, it works.
Boards don't hit back.
Very good. But brick, not hit back.
And you notice with Van Damme movies also, I guess that was like a thing back then with his fight movies where he would throw one punch, but they would show it from other angles, so it looks like it's like 50 different punches come in at once, but it's just that same punch. So it's like pop, 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 pop. Ah! It was a cool effect at the time. When you watch it now, you're like, wait a minute. When you watch it now, you're like, wait a minute, that was the same punch. They just showed it from other angles. You ain't slick, nigga. You ain't slick. I'ma give Bloodsport a B. Despite some bad acting, despite some cheesy fight scenes, man, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme. In the beginning, where he was hungry, he was trying to break it into Hollywood. This was do or die for him. You know what? They need to make a documentary about the making of Bloodsport, because I heard there was a lot of drama into making this film happen, where it was almost scrapped, and Van Damme had to actually go in himself and edit this movie and reshoot some things to you know, to make it what it was, because at one time the movie was almost unwatchable, and Van Damme had to actually single-handedly himself save this film. So they should do a documentary on that, man. I would be interested to see that. So what did you guys think of Bloodsport? What did you think of Van Damme? Who's your favorite movie fighter of all time? Comment below, comment freely. Thank you for watching. This is Rashad G signing out. See you in the next video.